The alien ship floated quietly through deep space. It was called the Light, a peaceful vessel belonging to the Yavari, a graceful and gentle species. Their skin shimmered like moonlight, their movements soft and calm, and their voices sang. When they spoke, the ship was on a long journey to map uncharted star systems. They didn't expect to find anything unusual. Then one of the sensors beeped. "There's a signal," said the navigator. "A human escape pod." Everyone looked up. Humans were still new to the galaxy. Many Yavari had never seen one in person. Some thought they were dangerous, others thought they were fascinating. "Commander." Avel gave a simple nod. "Bring it aboard." The pod was old, damaged, and barely holding together. Inside, a human man lay unconscious, his breathing shallow. He had dark hair, a rough face, and clothes that looked torn and burned. He had clearly been through something terrible. "He's alive," said one of the healers. A young Yavari woman stepped forward. Her name was Lyra. She was not part of the medical team, but her heart moved when she saw the human's weak form. "Am I care for him?" she asked. The others looked at her, surprised. Bonding with outsiders was rare. But Lyra had always been kind, always drawn to things the Javari didn't fully understand. Commander Avel nodded slowly. "You may." Lyra stayed beside the human as he was taken to the healing chamber. She sat by his bed every cycle, checking his breathing, wiping sweat from his forehead, and speaking softly. She didn't know if he could hear, but she spoke anyway. "Safe now. We're not going to hurt you." The human woke up after 3 cycles. His eyes opened slowly. He blinked at the glowing ceiling, then turned his head. When he saw Lyra, his body tensed. Where am I?" "You're aboard the Light. We found your pod." Tried to sit up, then winced in pain. Lyra gently helped him lie back. She said, "Your body is still healing. Who are you?" "My name is Lyra. I'm Yavari." "I'm Ben," he said, his voice rough. "Thank you for saving me." Lyra smiled softly. "You're welcome, Ben." From that moment, something quiet began to grow between them as Ben recovered. He began walking through the ship with Lyra by his side. She showed him the star gardens, glowing with floating plants. She brought him to the library dome, where he could listen to music from 100 worlds. And she asked him questions, so many questions. What is Earth like? What is your favorite sound? Do humans dream like we do? Ben answered patiently. Sometimes he laughed. Sometimes he looked sad. But he never got angry or annoyed. He was different. From what the Yavari had expected, he wasn't loud or wild. He was quiet, thoughtful, kind. One evening, Lyra took him to the open observatory, where the stars looked close enough to touch. "Do you miss your home?" she asked. Ben looked up at the stars for a long time. "I miss the sky," he said, "but this view is beautiful too." "I'm glad you're here," she whispered. Ben turned to her. "Me too." Their hands brushed for a moment. Lyra felt a spark inside her, a warmth that spread from her chest to her fingertips. Ben didn't pull away. He simply looked at her, eyes soft, a question in his gaze. She didn't answer with words. She just stayed close. On the Yavari ship, bonding wasn't something planned. It happened when feelings were deep and honest. It was rare with outsiders. But some crew members had begun to notice. Whispers traveled through the ship. The human and Lyra. Are they bonding? But how? He's not Yavari. Maybe it's not about what you are. Maybe it's about what you feel. Even Lyra's older sister Vela heard the whispers. She had always been close to Lyra, though more serious and careful. When she saw Ben and Lyra walking together, she felt something she didn't expect, curiosity. That night, she visited. Lyra, in her quarters. "Is it true?" Vela asked gently. "You've bonded with the human?" Lyra looked down, her hands folding in her lap. "I didn't plan it," she said, "but he's kind. He listens. He makes me feel calm, safe." Vela sat beside her. "Do you trust him?" "Yes, I do." Vela didn't say anything at first. She remembered how closed off Lyra used to be, how she often hid her feelings. But now, her sister glowed just a little. Not from light, but from something deeper. Then, Vela said quietly, looking thoughtful, can I meet him properly? The next day, Ben walked through the garden dome again. It started to enjoy its quiet beauty. Soft lights floated like tiny stars among the leaves, and gentle music played from hidden speakers. It was peaceful, far from the chaos he had known. Before his ship was destroyed, as he reached the center, he saw a new face. She stood tall and graceful, just like Lyra, but her eyes were sharper, her steps more measured. Her long hair shimmered silver, tied behind her head, and paused, unsure. But she gave him a small nod. You must be Ben, she said, her voice calm. I'm Vela, Lyra's sister. Ben gave a polite smile. It's nice to meet you. Vela watched him with curious eyes. I've heard much about you. I hope it was good, he replied, a little nervous. It was interesting. They sat on a bench near a small glowing tree. Silence fell between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Ben noticed that Vela was studying him, not in a harsh way, but like someone trying to understand something new. You don't seem like what we were told about humans, she said finally. What were you told? That you're loud, selfish, always ready to fight? Ben gave a quiet laugh. Some are, but not all.
And you?
She asked. I'm just me, he said. Vela nodded, looking away for a moment. Lyra said you helped fix her crystal communicator. Yeah, it just needed realignment. It wasn't hard, but you noticed it. Most wouldn't. She was frustrated. I just wanted to help. Vela looked at him again, this time with a softer gaze. You care about her, don't you? Ben didn't answer at first. Stared at the glowing leaves above them. I do, he said quietly. She made me feel safe when I thought I'd die out here. She treated me like a person, not just some lost thing. Vela's hands folded in her lap. She's smiling more now. That's rare for her. She has a beautiful smile, Ben said. For a moment, Vela didn't speak. Then she stood. Walk with me. Ben followed her through the dome, and they talked more about Earth, about the Yevri, about the stars. Vela listened closely, asking deeper questions than Lyra ever had. She wanted to understand not just what Ben did, but how he thought, how he felt. Later that night, Lyra met Vela in their shared chamber. Vela sat by the glowing table, her fingers brushing its smooth surface. You met him? Lyra said softly. Yes, Vela replied. And Vela didn't answer right away. Then she looked at her sister with thoughtful eyes. He's warm, honest. See why you bonded with him? Lyra felt a soft joy in her chest. Her bond with Ben had been quiet, unspoken, but real. And now Vela was starting to see him too. Makes you feel safe, Vela said, her voice barely above a whisper. That feeling, I haven't felt that in a long time. Lyra looked at her sister carefully. Are you saying you, Vela, shook her? Head quickly. I'm not bonded with him. But there's something about him. Something strong and gentle. The Yevri were not like humans. Their bonds could expand if feelings were honest and natural. Didn't happen often, but it wasn't forbidden. You can talk to him again, Lyra said. I think he'd like that. The next day, Ben was in the ship's observatory, looking at a swirling blue nebula. Vela joined him, holding 2 warm drinks in glass cups. Starfruit tea, she said. It helps with memory. Thank you, Ben said, accepting the cup. They stood quietly, sipping their tea. Do you miss your world? Vela asked. Every day, Ben said, but it doesn't hurt as much anymore. Because of Lyra? Yes. And now? Maybe you too. Vela turned. To him, surprised? Me. Ben gave a small smile. You ask questions that make me think. I like that. Vela felt something shift inside her. Not a strong bond yet, but a spark. She hadn't expected it. She'd come to test him to see if he was worthy of her sister's trust. Instead, she found someone who listened, who noticed things, who didn't pretend. That night, the Yevri Council sent a message to Lyra. We sense changes. Your bond with the human is forming a new pattern. We must observe. This has never happened before. Lyra felt fear in her chest. Will they take him away? No, said Vela, standing beside her. They want to understand, and I'll be with you. Lyra looked at her sister. Vela, are you falling for him? Vela nodded slowly. I don't know what it is yet, but it's something real. if your bond allows it, would like to share. Lyra felt no anger, no jealousy, only a strange sense of peace. She took her sister's hand, and let's walk this path together. Meanwhile, Ben sat in his room, unaware of the quiet decision being made. He looked out at the stars, wondering how he had ended up on a ship with two kind alien sisters. He smiled to himself, thinking of their faces, their questions, their trust. Don't know where this is going, he whispered to the stars, but I want to find out. The ship's soft lights dimmed as night fell across the corridors of the Saren light. Ben sat at a small table in the mess hall, stirring a warm drink with a curious little spoon that glowed slightly. He was starting to understand the Javaris. Way of life calm, peaceful, full of meaning in the small things. It was so different from Earth, yet it felt right. He didn't hear her at first. But then Vela sat beside him, placing two folded cloths on the table. I brought something, she said quietly. Ben smiled. What are they? Memory maps. Vela replied. We draw them to share moments we don't want to forget. She placed one in front of him and unrolled it. Soft lines glowed across the fabric like gentle waves of light. It showed stars, a small pod and two glowing figures standing beside it. Ben looked at her, surprised. This is me and Lyra, Vela nodded. Your arrival changed her, she used. To keep everyone at a distance? But now, she speaks more, smiles more, laughs. Ben ran his fingers over the glowing lines. She changed me too. Vela hesitated. Then she unrolled the second map. This one showed 3 figures to Javari and 1 human. Ben noticed it right away. This is new. Vela nodded. It's what might be. He looked into her eyes. There was no trick, no pressure, just honesty. You're saying you want to bond? She said. But I feel something starting. I want to walk slowly. Feel each step. Ben took a breath. I don't understand your ways fully, but I don't feel confused around you or Lyra. Just calm. Vela smiled softly. That's a good sign.
I'll later.
In the star garden, Lyra stood watching the glowing plants bloom as the cycle changed. Ben and Vela approached slowly. Ben stopped beside Lyra and gently touched her hand. She told me, he said quietly, and I'm not afraid. Lyra smiled. Neither am I. Vela stepped forward. If your bond allows, I will stay close, but only if it feels right. Lyra looked at her sister. There was no jealousy in her eyes, only trust. Then we will walk this together. Over the next few cycles, the 3 spent more time together. They shared meals, explored the ship's ancient observatory, and listened to music made of light. Ben found himself laughing more. Both sisters brought different parts of him forward, Lyra's kindness and warmth, his Vela's sharp mind and deep questions. But not everyone was pleased. Elder Siren, one of the oldest members of the Yavari Council, watched from a distance. His voice had weight. His words guided the younger generations, and he was worried. This bond is not like ours, Siren said to the other elders. Humans are not meant for Javari joining. It could bring change we are not ready for. But they bring no harm, another elder said. Not yet, Siren replied. But if one bond becomes 2, and then more, what will happen to our ways? The council decided to act. A message was sent to Lyra and Vela. You and the human must appear before the council. We must see the truth of this bond. Lyra felt a chill in her chest. Ben noticed right away. What is it? He asked. They want us to speak before the council, she whispered. Vela looked serious. They want to test our connection. Ben stood not with fear, but with calm purpose, and will show them. The hall of starlight, where the council met, was filled with glowing patterns on the floor and soft humming in the walls. The elders sat in a circle, their eyes watching carefully. Ben stepped forward, with Lyra and Vela beside him. He bowed slightly, unsure of the custom, but wanting to be respectful. Elder Siren's voice echoed. You are a visitor, human. You now walk beside 2 of our own. Tell us why. Ben looked around, then spoke slowly. I didn't come here to take anything. I came because I was lost, and they found me. I didn't plan to bond. It happened because they saw me not as a stranger, but as a person. Elder Siren narrowed his eyes. And now 2 hearts are drawn to you. I didn't ask for it, Ben said. But I won't turn away from something real. Vela stepped forward. Our bonds are sacred, but they're also about trust, and I trust him. Lyra joined her. He didn't break anything. Help me heal. The council was silent for a long time. Then Elder Siren spoke again. If this is true, then the bond must be tested not with questions, but with understanding. You must face the trial of alignment. Vela and Lyra looked at each other in surprise. It's rare, Vela whispered. Ben looked at them. Is it? It's a test of harmony, Lyra explained. You must walk the path of memory and reflection. Alone. Ben didn't hesitate. I'll do it. That night, before the trial, Lyra and Vela stood beside Ben in the quiet garden. You don't have to prove anything, Lyra said, but if I can, maybe I'll prove something to everyone, Ben replied. Vela placed a hand on his shoulder. You already did, just by being you. Ben smiled at them both, feeling something deep and strong in his chest. Whatever tomorrow held, he wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, the ship's lights shifted to soft blue, signaling a time of reflection. Ben stood alone outside the trial chamber, breathing slowly. He had no idea what was waiting inside, but he wasn't scared. He had something strong now, too. People who believed in him, near the entrance, Lyra and Vela waited. They couldn't go in, but their eyes met his one last time before he stepped inside. Lyra gave him a gentle nod, and Vela placed her hand over her heart. Ben copied the motion, not knowing exactly what it meant, but feeling it mattered. The trial chamber was quiet and dim. The walls glowed with soft light, and mist swirled gently around his feet. A voice echoed from all directions. It was the voice of the ship's memory system, guided by the council. Welcome, human. You seek to prove your bond through the trial of alignment? Here you will face your past, your truth, and your emotions. Do not hide. Do not lie. Only honesty will light your way. Ben nodded. I'm ready. A path formed. Under his feet, faint light leading him forward. As he walked, scenes from his life flickered around him like ghosts. His old crew, the explosion, floating alone in space. The silence. The fear then came the faces of those he had lost: his captain, his best friend, his sister back on Earth. He stopped, heart heavy, remembering every mistake and every goodbye. He hadn't been able to say I wasn't strong enough, he whispered. I survived while they didn't, Soft Hum responded, and a mirror rose before him. In it, he saw himself not as he was now, but how he had looked when the Yavari found him, broken, weak, scared. Then the image shifted. He saw himself laughing, beside Lyra, talking with Vela, helping the crew fix a damaged engine. The mirror changed again, showing the garden, the observatory, the shared meals. You are more than your pain, the voice said. But what if I fail them too? Ben asked. You already gave them peace, gave them your truth. They accepted it. Tears touched his eyes, but he didn't turn away. He reached out and touched the mirror. It vanished, and the room brightened slightly. A new path appeared. He walked forward, and the surroundings changed again. This time, he stood in a place that didn't belong to him. It was a memory from Lyra's past. She was younger. Alone in the library dome, her eyes filled with sadness. Ben saw her watching others from a distance, never speaking, never laughing. She looked like a ghost among her own people. She was lonely, Ben said softly. Another scene appeared, Vela training in the ship's combat hall. Her face tight, her movements sharp. She pushed herself harder than anyone else, always serious, always distant. She was trying to protect everyone, even from herself. The voice returned. Can you carry the truth of others as well as your own? Ben didn't answer with words. He stepped forward into the memories, accepting them. He walked beside younger Lyra in silence. He watched Vela fight against fear she never showed. He didn't judge. He just listened. The memories faded, and the chamber returned to stillness. You have passed, the voice said. Not because you are Yavari, but because you are willing to understand what lies beneath. The door opened. Outside, Lyra and Vela waited. With anxious eyes, When Ben stepped out, he looked tired but calm. They rushed to him. "You're all right?" Lyra asked. "Yeah," Ben nodded. "It was hard, but I saw you both. Your past, your pain, and I still feel the same." Vela touched his hand. "We knew you would pass." "I didn't," Ben said, smiling gently. "I'm glad I did." That evening the council gathered again. Elder Siren stood to speak. The human has passed the trial of alignment. He has faced not just himself, but the truth of those he walks beside. Murmurs spread through the room. Many were surprised. A few even smiled. Elder Siren raised his voice. "This bond, though unusual, is no threat. It has shown strength and understanding, not power, and so we do not stop it. We watch and we learn." Vela and Lyra looked at each other with quiet joy. Ben took their hands. For the first time, they stood not just as a human and to Yavari, but as something new. Word spread quickly across the ship. Some crew members were curious, others excited, few still unsure. But all agreed something had changed. That night, Lyra, Vela, and Ben sat together under the stars. No words were needed. The silence between them was full, not empty. After a while, Ben spoke. "I didn't come here to find love. I didn't think I deserved it." Lyra leaned her head on his shoulder. "You do?" Vela added, "And you gave us something too, a chance to open our hearts." Ben looked at them both. "I'm glad I found you." As the stars shimmered above and the ship drifted through the quiet of space, 3 lives were no longer separate. They had found each other through pain, through trust, through something deeper than anyone had expected. The ship sailed through a calm stretch of space. Stars blinked gently outside the viewing dome, and inside the ship, everything seemed peaceful. But not for long. News of the human-Yavari bond had reached other ships in the Yavari fleet. Some supported it, others called it dangerous. And one ship in particular, the Viewership, did not approve. The Viewership was commanded by Captain Elron, an old Javari leader known for strict rules and a cold heart. He believed bonds should never be shared with outsiders. When he received the report, he frowned and spoke only 2 words: "Prepare, jump." Back on the Siren Light, Ben was in the engineering hall, helping 2 young Yavari repair a power line. He was getting better at understanding the ship's systems. His hands moved carefully, guided by instructions from a holoscreen. He didn't notice Vela enter until she called his name. "Ben," she said, "come with me. Something's wrong." He wiped his hands and followed her down the quiet hallway. They met Lyra near the communication room. Her eyes were troubled. "We received a message," she said softly. "The Viewership is coming. They want to inspect the bond." Ben tilted his head. "Inspect it?" Vela looked serious. "They want to break it?" The word hit hard. Ben felt a cold knot in his stomach. "Can they?" "Not without our permission," Lyra said. "But Captain Elron, he doesn't wait for permission." The sisters explained that the Viewership held more power in the fleet. It could demand answers from smaller ships. The council had accepted Ben's bond, but Captain Elron didn't follow the council's heart. He followed his own. The Viewership tide arrived 1 day later. The moment it connected to the Siren Light, tension filled the air. Javari soldiers in dark robes entered quietly. Steps were slow, their faces unreadable. Captain Elron stepped into the main hall. His voice was smooth, but cold. "I seek the human," he said. Ben stood beside Lyra and Vela, refusing to move back. "I'm here." Elron studied him. "You bonded with not one, but 2 of our kind." "Why?" Ben didn't answer right away. He looked at Lyra, then Vela, then back at the captain. "Because they let me," he said. "Because they saw me when I was broken, and gave me something worth holding on to." Elron raised an eyebrow. "And what did you give them?" "Hope," Ben said simply, "and a reason to trust." The captain's eyes narrowed. "I do not trust humans. Your kind has always reached with fire. And now you reach for our hearts?" Vela stepped forward. "We didn't reach. We offered." Elron turned to her. "Your judgment is clouded by emotion, and maybe emotion is what we need." Lyra said calmly. Not cold rules, Elron. Said nothing for a moment. Then he signaled to his guards. Prepare the test of division. Everyone in the hall froze. It was an old method one that hadn't been used in cycles. Force bonded Javari to face illusions designed to break. Trust. If the bond failed, it would shatter completely. No, Lyra said firmly. We've already proven ourselves, Elron? Shook his head. You proved it to the Saren light. Now you must prove it to the fleet, Vela whispered. We have no choice. The trial chamber was dark this time, colder. Ben stood between the sisters, trying to steady his breath. They had been told nothing, except that the bond would be pushed to its limit. Then the room changed. Ben found himself alone in a dark corridor. Voices echoed around him, familiar voices. They don't really care about you. They only feel sorry for you. You're still just a human. He tried to shut them out, but they grew louder. Scenes appeared in the shadows, visions. Of Lyra turning away. Of Vela walking with someone else. Lies twisted into fears. But then he remembered their hands in his, their words, their warmth. No, he said aloud, you're not real. The scene shifted. Now Lyra stood in a glowing room. Her vision showed Ben drifting away from her, choosing another. Her voice cracked. You said you'd stay. She clenched her fists, but then heard Ben's voice in her heart. I never left. She closed her eyes and let the light return. Vela faced her own vision of being replaced, forgotten. A new human stood beside Lyra in her mind, laughing. Where she once stood? You don't belong, the vision whispered. But Vela remembered Ben's calm voice, his careful hands, the way he said her questions mattered. And she pushed the vision away. The three woke in the chamber's center. Gasping but standing strong, Captain Elron watched silently as the results glowed on the chamber wall. Bond stable, divided. True. He stepped forward, his expression unreadable. You passed. Ben looked at him. I wasn't trying to win, just to stay true. Elron gave a slow nod. Then you have earned my silence. He turned and left with his guards. The crew of the Saren Light rushed in after. Cheers filled the air. The trial was over. The bond had held, and something inside the Yavari had begun to change that night. In the Starlight Garden, Ben, Lyra, and Vela sat in silence again. No test could change what they had built. I thought we'd lose everything, Lyra said softly. But we didn't, Ben replied. Vela smiled. We faced the storm. We held each other. As the stars drifted across the dome, their bond glowed not with light, but with trust, deep and real. Days passed peacefully after the trial. The Varish tide left in silence, and no more ships came to challenge the bond. The story of Ben, the human who had passed the test of alignment and the trial of division, spread across the fleet. Many doubted at first, but now they were curious. Some were even inspired. On the Saren Light, the atmosphere was lighter. Crew members who had once stared now smiled. Few younger Yavari asked Ben simple questions about Earth, laughing at his odd descriptions of rain, trees, and human deserts. Ben didn't mind. He'd gotten used to being the only human in the sea of glowing skin and soft voices. Lyra and Vela stayed close. Sometimes they worked beside Ben in engineering. Sometimes they walked with him through the star gardens or read books in the library dome. They didn't talk about the past much. They focused on now. One evening, Lyra invited Ben and Vela to a private chamber near the ship's heart. It was round, with a glass floor that showed the core of the ship glowing blue, humming gently. Vela looked around. I've never been here before. This room, Lyra said, is used for marking a new bond. Ben blinked, marking it. How? Lyra smiled. Not with a ceremony. With memory crystals. She brought out 3 small clear stones. They sparkled with soft light. Each of us, she said, will speak a truth. The crystal will record it. And it will become a part of our bond. Vala took a deep breath and held one of the crystals. She looked at Ben. My truth, she said, is that I never thought I would trust a human, but you proved me wrong. You made me feel seen. And I don't want to walk alone. Any more? The crystal glowed, holding her words and feelings. Lyra held the second crystal. "My truth," she said, "is that I was afraid to feel anything. I hid behind kindness, but kept my heart closed. Till you came, Ben. You were hurt, yet still brave. And you helped me open the door I had locked for so long." Her crystal glowed too. Ben looked at the last crystal, then at both sisters. "My truth," he said quietly, "is that I thought I was lost forever. I believed no one would want me or trust me again. But then I met you, both of you. And now I feel like I'm home, even light years from Earth." His crystal glowed the brightest. They placed all three crystals into a small basin of water-like energy in the center of the chamber. The lights joined, swirling gently. Soft sound filled the room like a song of memory. "Now our bond is marked," Lyra said. Vela added, "not by rules, but by choice." They sat in the stillness for a while, watching the lights dance, but in the wider galaxy. Something else was happening. Messages were being sent between ships. Some Yeveri were asking questions never asked before. Could bonds be shared across species? Could humans be trusted? Could their ways change without losing who they were? On Earth, too, whispers reached the human council. One of their own had bonded with not just one alien, but two. At first, the news was treated like a joke. But then, quiet interest began to rise. 1 week later, message came to the Saren Light. Incoming human transport vessel, peaceful, requesting to speak with Ben. The crew was surprised. Even Ben didn't expect it. "They're from Earth?" Vela asked. Ben nodded. "Probably military or council observers. Will they try to take you back?" Lyra asked, her voice soft. "Maybe," Ben said. "I won't go unless I choose to." When the human ship docked, a woman named Captain Dale came aboard. She was polite but firm. Macy met with the Avari Council first, then requested to speak with Ben alone. They met in the observatory. Stars floated above them, just like the night he had first spoken to Lyra. "So," Captain Dale said, "you've made quite a name for yourself." "I didn't mean to," Ben replied. "You bonded with 2 alien women. That's not standard." "Nothing about this was standard," Ben said. "I crashed. I survived. And then I healed." Captain Dale looked at him carefully. "We've had other humans go missing. Some don't come back. But you stayed. Do you plan to return to Earth?" Ben looked at the stars, thinking. "Not now," he said. "This is where I'm needed. This is where I feel, right? And if the Yavari asks to build a bridge between species..." Ben smiled slightly. "Then I'll help." The captain nodded. "Earth may need people like you." After she left, Ben returned to the garden. Lyra and Vela were waiting. "Did she say?" Vela asked. "They're watching," Ben said. "But not in a bad way. Maybe this is the start of something bigger." "Are you staying?" Lyra asked quietly. Ben reached out and took both their hands. "I already did." The stars moved slowly above them, just as they always had. But now, something new was happening in the galaxy. Something small but strong. A bond, a family, a change.